Yeah, the wind's starting to pick up here, but it's such a beautiful day. It reminds me of the accounts that were mentioned, how it was a nice afternoon, and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Children were playing, they were doing chores, they were cooking, they did not expect the militia to come in, because the day before they had had some peace talks, and they'd thought they'd talked with the Nehemiah Comstock, and made agreements that they'd leave each other alone. But David Evans, who was the branch president, David Evans lived in a different settlement 6 miles to the, that would be to the south, called Mud Creek. And David Evans, when the militia, about 240 of them, came in from the north in the trees, he waved a white flag and yelled for quarters. Quarters means truce. And they fired on him. And so the plan was, where they had their weapons stacked, and to run to the blacksmith shop, because they thought this would be a fortress for them to find protection. But it turned out just the opposite. The blacksmith shop had made out of large logs, and it hadn't been chinked. And one log had been left out near the top to let in the light and circulate the smoke and in the shop. And as a result, the mob would fire in the cracks. And it was just like shooting fish in a barrel. And when a Mormon would stick his musket out to fire, why, they'd knock it aside. As soon as they knocked it aside, why, they'd push their own weapon in the cracks and the portholes, and as a result, it was just a slaughter. That's why they call it a massacre. It ended up that there were 17 men and boys that were killed, 15 wounded, and there were only 3 of the Missourian militia, or the mob, that were wounded, none killed. Now you're going to read different accounts. There's a plaque in Breckenridge that talks about the people that were killed there, and there's 2 names on it. One of them is Abraham Palmer, and another one is a man by the name of Roper. And none of the accounts that I've ever read mention these 2 names. There's a half a dozen female names on them, on the marker, and none of those are the wives of the men that were wounded or killed. And if you do some research on this Abraham Palmer in a website called the Norton Family, you'll find that even in that website, it talks about how Abraham Palmer went on to Utah and lived his life out in Sanpete County. So I don't know what you can do about correcting some of these mistakes that people are making in their accounts. But Janelle Jenkins has an ancestor that was killed here, Thomas McBride. And she's the one that should be giving the lectures. She does an excellent job of printing her articles and her research on the Missouri Mormon Frontier Foundation.org website. Janelle and I have gone on several different exhibitions to learn about things. I admire her for her excellent research. You can read all these accounts on the MMFF website without me spending a lot of time. I'd encourage you to read them yourself, and you can read more details about who was killed and who was wounded and on the MMFF website.